If I was the individual that got killed, I would have announced that I had a gun. Officer, I have a gun. I'm a little bit concerned about your posture.
One thing I think about too is that, as Jake is saying, this is a combat environment for that police officer. And so, like, announcing yourself, saying that you're, I'm coming to the door with a gun. Who is this? Make them speak to you first through the door. All these different things so that, again, it could be, really useful for.
Yeah, I cracked the door. I do not put my head out the door. I just cracked the door. I said, hey, what do you need? He said, you shoveling snow in the street. Now at this point, I said, okay, but my man's a little bit agitated about snow in the street. Okay, so I'm still not in a rush to get out into the field of fire. So I said, Sarah, did you hear that? She said, I heard it, but I'm still in position. Cool, we good, we set up. So I cracked the door a little bit more. I said, Mr. Officer, I said, I'm a little uncomfortable at 10 o'clock at night. You kind of aggressive.
I'll be the contrarian one. This guy's got to go to court. I think this was a bad shoot. I think that if you are behind a badge and a gun and you have the legal authority to shoot and kill an American citizen, you had better make sure that that American citizen deserves to be shot and killed. And in this case, it's my personal opinion, it wasn't. Okay?
Dad spent 4 years in prison. Like, bad dude, beat up police officers all the time. So I got my driver's license. I'm 16. He said, hey, man, go out in the car. We're going to work on getting arrested. Okay.
The policeman that shows up to an apartment complex and gets the wrong apartment number. There was a couple that was supposedly fighting, and they fight all the time. They got, the police called on them. There were frequent flyers with this police department. It's the same police department, by the way, that had the Acorn shooting, and that's going to kind of play in here a little bit later. But
now, I'm going to tell you, the first thing I said was, I'm not ever answering the door with a gun, and I'm not ready to kill somebody.
When he says gun compartment, he's got it everywhere.
Everywhere,
still got
absolutely. So yeah, that's what it is. Like, I got a shower gun, I got a toilet gun, I got a couple different guns,
So the reality is what it is, right? At no point in time should that young man have opened the door with a gun in his hand. And if he did,
I tell everybody the same thing. You want to get killed? Have a gun and go mess with a police officer.
Immediately, what did America go to? Oh, it was racist because there was a black kid at the door with a gun, right? It wasn't a racist shoot. He didn't even know that the kid was black. He saw a gun and he reacted.
So next topic, right? This one happened, I want to say it's about a month ago, and this was the shooting of the airman down in Florida. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuance here, and I don't want to overtalk it, right? So, I could talk about this forever. So, number one, to the gunship community, this guy was a crew member on the gunships. The AC-130 has, depending on the crew and whatever, there's 3 or 4 officers, and there's 3 or 4 enlisted dudes. This guy was one of the young enlisted dudes living in Florida on the way back. I've watched this video every second of it a whole bunch of times, right? So, the policeman that shows up to an apartment complex and gets the wrong apartment number. There was a couple that was supposedly fighting, and they fight all the time. They got, the police called on them. There were frequent flyers with this police department. It's the same police department, by the way, that had the Acorn shooting, and that's going to kind of play in here a little bit later. But so the policeman goes and knocks on the door. Man, I am not a police officer. My experiences in Iraq, Afghanistan, deployed in combat operations do not translate to policing in America. I will not second guess some of the facts of this just because I can't put myself in that, right? But I can look at a video that's very clear. I can place higher expectations upon this officer, and they deserve to, because that officer is in charge of people's freedoms, and he does so behind a weapon. That's a very important thing to understand in this entire thing. I'm not degrading the officer. I think this was a bad shoot. I think that if you are behind a badge and a gun and you have the legal authority to shoot and kill an American citizen, you had better make sure that that American citizen deserves to be shot and killed. And in this case, it's my personal opinion, it wasn't. Okay? I understand opening the door. Like, if you bang on my door, and there was a lot of back and forth with you, when did he announce? He knocked on that door 4 times, 4 separate times, banged on it before he announced himself as a law enforcement officer. I have a serious problem with that. If you come to my front door right now and you bang on my door and you don't announce yourself, I have cameras everywhere. However, you are going to be greeted with a gun. And that's because you didn't announce yourself. If you bang on my door and you don't say, hello, I'm from law enforcement. I am here to talk to Aaron, and I have something I'd like to talk to you about. Unless you're calm, unless you start in that manner, it doesn't matter if someone is getting killed inside or not. You come in my door, I'm going to shoot you. Okay? So for him to answer that door, clearly seen in that video with the weapon pointed down, not even bladed towards the officer. This is something that people don't understand too. You have to look at the hands, the waist, the posture, the demeanor, and the aggression of the person that you were talking to. That's how you look at a threat in a close quarters environment. His hands had a weapon in it. His posture, the weapon was away from the officer. He was bladed with his shooting arm away from the officer. He's opening the door with his left hand. His posture was straight up non-aggressive. His demeanor was questioning because somebody was banging on his door. Should he have opened the door? Absolutely not. I think, for me, I'm going to talk through the other side of that door very calmly and let you know I have a weapon and you should probably stop banging on my door or I'm going to kill you for it. All that being said, it's a terrible situation. Do I think that this young airman deserved to catch a 5-piece standing in his door, being a calm, non-threatening citizen? Absolutely not. I don't think that should have happened. That's an opinion from a guy that's never worked in law enforcement. Okay. In a combat environment, that happens. Somebody opens the door and it happens. I don't know how many stories we could talk about of, hey, somebody came to a door and accidentally pointed a gun at somebody they didn't know, and it just happened to be a team that hit the wrong house. We all have stories about that. And it's terrible and it's tragic and it's a loss of life. But this isn't war. This is America, and you're supposed to be a highly trained person that is meant to protect and serve the citizens of the United States of America and the place that you work. I have very high expectations for those folks. And given that this is the same place where an acorn hit a car and the police officer proceeded to dump a mag into a vehicle over it, I don't have a whole lot of tolerance. That shows me that we have some problems with escalation of force. I think that's about all I got.